Hello Year 8 and welcome to Miss Brooks's first attempt at the Screencast app. In front of you, you should have the extract from Tomorrow When the War Began, which was given out to you by teachers on Friday. So you should have downloaded this video, and in front of you, you need to have this piece of paper that's on the screen right now. What I'm going to do in this screencast is we're going to read through the extract that's on the left-hand side of the page. I'm going to briefly explain how the table at the bottom should work and what you would need to include in that. Then we'll go step by step through the plot plan diagram and each of the elements and questions you need to consider as to what information you should include on here for when you come in on Monday to complete your writing task. Then we'll go through the last step, what you need to include in this box here, and the details that you'll need for your creative assessment task to show us your skills. So let's start with the reading. Homer nodded. No one else spoke. The tension was heavy, like a humid night. Here in this secret basin, we'd been insulated for a little while from the fear and sweat and bleeding of the outside world. People were keeping each other prisoner, hurting each other, killing each other, but we'd retreated to the paradise of hell. It was a bit irrelevant to what Homer was saying, but I spoke anyway. I can understand why the hermit chose to live down here, away from it all. Away from the human race, Chris murmured. It's our own families, said Corrie. That's what everyone's worried about, isn't it? I guess I'd fight for my country, but I'm going mad wondering what happened to my family. We don't know if they're alive or dead. We're thinking and hoping that they're at the showground, and we're thinking and hoping that they're being well treated. But we don't know any of that. We've only got Mr. Clement's word to go on. Seeing Mr. Coles at the showground helped, I said. He looked healthy. He didn't look too terrified or injured. That made a big difference to me. Fee spoke up. I think we should try to find out more about the showground. If we know that everyone's there, that they're unhurt, that they're being fed properly, and all that sort of thing, it'd make such a difference. Homer was about to interrupt, but she went on. I've been thinking about what Reuben and Kevin were arguing about. If I could get my family and friends back healthy, I'd let these people have the stupid houses and cars and things. I'd go and live with my parents in a cardboard box at the tip and be happy. I tried to imagine Fee, with her beautiful skin and soft polished voice, living at the tip. It sounds like we should try to find out more about the showground then, Homer said, but it won't be easy. Now this is an extract from after they've first been to the showgrounds and seen what it's like. The mower's been blown up and they've returned with all their supplies to hell, and that's a bit of a sanctuary for them. A bit of a safe place, a paradise it's called up here. So the first thing that you need to do is fill out this table in relation to this extract. So that means you need to identify one symbol you can see in here, and there are a number to choose from. So have another read through, pick a symbol and write that down in here. A symbol could be things like the bridge, the hermit, the showground, hell, light, darkness, etc. Those things that we've talked about in class. You then need to include a brief quote. It only needs to be about 8 to 10 words long from this section in which you can see the symbol being mentioned. It either can be explicit, as in that word is specifically mentioned, or explicit, which means it's implied in the sentence. It's not necessarily said, but it's implied that that's what they're talking about. The last section, this bigger box down here, what does this symbol stand for or represent? You need to explain within the context of this extract, which is taken from the book, what the symbol means there. And it will mean different things in different parts of the book, but you need to say what your symbol means in this particular section. And that should be a couple of sentences long, probably in this space. So you need to make sure you write neatly and carefully to fill that space in. So if you want to pause it and finish that, you might do that first now. All right, you should have filled that box in, and now you are moving over to your plot plan diagram. So I'm going to pull up a set of slides to help us with that. So these will be in the same folder as the video file, so you should have dragged these onto your computer as well on Friday. The first thing you'll see the different themes that you can talk about. So this would be to fill out this box down here we'll start with. So a symbol. Sorry, let's start with the symbol. One of the symbols you can use in your own story would be the idea of hell. Might be like the bridge, it might be the showgrounds, the hermit, light or darkness. Now this symbol is not going to be exactly the same. It will be a symbol in your town. So if you live in Cobram, you might use the bridge between Cobram and Barooga. If you lived in Kattunga, you might use the football club rooms or the club grounds, the primary school. If you live in Yamurka, you might use the recreation reserve or the town hall or St. Joseph's Primary School or something like that. It depends where you live, what item you can use to be your symbol, or what landmark in your town you can use. The next thing you need to think about, the second box on this page here, is theme. So the themes can be one of the following three, and it might be coming of age. And that means your character, you as the protagonist, might grow up somewhat in your story. There might be some event that forces them to grow up. Alternatively, you might have your character have to sacrifice something in order to survive, or have to make a very difficult decision in order to survive. And this doesn't necessarily mean life or death. It might instead mean that you need to give up physical objects, or you might need to give up the innocence of your childhood because you see some horrific things and you have to grow up to deal with them and sacrifice your childhood. So that's almost two themes at once, which is quite tricky. The third one is society and values. And this might be how your character or characters in your story change the way that they think about things. So what they think is right and wrong, or good and bad, because of the things that happen and maybe how they have to deal with it. So for example, if you had a story about an incident at the school and the rules were changed and you had to act in some way that you would never normally act, your values might change because of the situation. So you need to think about how your character's values might change because of the situations they are placed in. The protagonist, this is you, so give me some details about who you are and your backstory. Any other characters should be kept to a minimum, no more than 2 other characters, the protagonist and 2 others. That's it, keep it simple. Otherwise it becomes a big mess and there's too much going on in a very short story. Then you need to think about your setting. This is the last box here. This is a local town that you are familiar with. So I've got pictures here so you can think about it. We've got Cobram, we've got Finley, we've got Nathalia, we've got Yamurka, Kattunga, Cobram, Barooga. So you pick your town, something that you're familiar with, you know the buildings of, etc. And that's where you're going to set the scene. So then we get into the plot plan diagram. Your exposition gives us a background on your characters and your setting. So straight away, your story might be the moment that you're driving into town. It might be the moment you wake up. It might be you walking into the kitchen. You set the scene for your character. Describe, use the 5 senses. What can you see? What can you hear? What can you touch? What can you smell? What can you taste? You don't have to use all of them. Use some of those. And give me a brief introduction to where you are and who you are. That's what we need to know in the exposition. The next step is rising action. So some kind of event needs to kick your story off and in motion. These are the plot points in your story. So what's going to happen to build towards the climax? Is there a gunman in the school? Has the football club been taken over? Is the library under attack from aliens? I don't know. Your story. You decide what actions need to happen to build up the excitement towards the climax, which is going to be the big moment of your story. The climax. Your character, which is you, the protagonist, it's about to win or lose everything in this moment. So you need to decide what's going to happen. Do they have to step up and protect everybody and put themselves in the way of the enemy? Do you need to fight somebody? I don't know. It's not my story. So you have to come up with what's going to be your climactic moment in your story. Then we have the falling action. So you've had your climax, you've stepped up and defended everybody. Well, what's the outcome of that? Did you get shot? Did someone get hurt? Did you have to run away? You tell me, what are the following events? What happens after the climax? Are you all still friends with the people that were there, or did we all change because of an event that occurred? It's your story, but these are the falling events, and we're working towards what's called the resolution, the end of the story. Finally, you reach the resolution. It might be an untidy ending like Tomorrow When the War Began, and you might not tie everything up together, and you might leave it open for some interpretation about what might happen next, driving off into the sunset, for example, or just walking off down the track, kind of we can just hear the steps, and that's how you end your story. It's up to you. You might have a nice tidy ending where everything is sorted out. But that decision is one that you need to make, and you'll have to write that in your plan. So take some time now. I'd use a pencil to write these in to make sure that you are able to change anything you need. Now, my final point is that you can only write on this side of the page. You cannot write on the back of the page. So in this box, make sure you've listed what your symbol is and how you're going to use it, what your theme is, how you're going to use it, who your protagonist is, name, which is yourself, some background information that's important to this, and the setting. So a few details. Remember, we're looking for some exciting, punchy vocab, and you might even try at this point when you're describing your setting and actions to use some literary devices like a simile, metaphor, onomatopoeia, etc. All right, Year 8s, thank you for listening. I hope you were able to follow along and I haven't spoken too quickly. I'd love some feedback on this little clip. Let me know if it was useful and I might do it again. Good luck. See you on Monday.